If you are in Zurich for 2 days, don't spend all that time in the city. As I said before, you can see Zurich in half a day at most. And the next day, go on a fascinating independent trip to the north of the country. To do this, take a direct train early in the morning to the pretty medieval town of Schaffhausen. Then, after exploring it, head to the Rhine Falls, Europe's largest waterfall. And finally drive to the fairy-tale town of Stein am Rhein before returning to Zurich by train in the evening. Schaffhausen, the Rhine Falls and Stein am Rhein are very close to each other, maximum 20 minutes by train. Thus, in one day you will see 2 very beautiful Swiss towns, and one of the most famous natural attractions in Europe. So let's start with Schaffhausen, which is located in the north of Switzerland on the border with Germany. The town owes its origin to the Rhine Falls. Shippers had to stop somewhere to reload their goods, avoiding rapids impassable for ships. People come here from Zurich on the way to the Rhine Falls, but believe me, you should definitely visit this town. It is one of the best preserved medieval towns. Here it is pleasant to wander through the narrow streets, immersing yourself in the atmosphere of a bygone era and enjoying the beauty of old paintings of houses. The houses with painted facades are the main attraction of Schaffhausen. The most famous of these is the Haus zum Ritter, a 16th century knight's house with frescoes depicting the virtues of the townspeople. The peculiarity of the city are bay windows, balconies, of which there are more than 170. And these are not banal balconies, but real works of art with many forged elements, sculptures and other decorations. All this is located in the old town near the train station. It is completely pedestrianized and you can see it in an hour at most. Another symbol of Schaffhausen is the Muno Fortress, which stands on a hill above the town. The fortress was built at the end of the 16th century according to the plans of the famous painter Albrecht Dürer. The entrance to the fortress is free and immediately you get into the storage, which has a massive ceiling about 4 meters high. It is supported by 9 pillars. Light enters the casemate through 4 round light holes. The castle has a circular shape, which, as Dürer believed, allows for effective defense and successfully resist the onslaught of the enemy from all sides. The fortress honestly fulfilled this task for 2 centuries, falling only once under the onslaught of the French in 1799. A few years later, it lost its importance and began to deteriorate. Today, the fortress has been restored and is available for everyone to see. Go up the wide spiral staircase without steps, so that could lift the cannons. Here are the cannons themselves. And here is the guardian of the castle. From the walls of the fortress opens a picturesque view of the city and the surrounding area. The castle is surrounded by a vineyard belonging to the town, which is planted with Pinot Noir and Pinot Gris vines. In Schaffhausen there is the Benedictine All Saints Monastery, founded in the early 11th century, but beautifully preserved. It was closed during the Reformation and all the buildings were taken over by the municipality property. Today, in the ancient walls, located one of the largest museums in Switzerland, with an exhibition on the culture and history of the north of the country. Interesting fact: Schaffhausen and nearby Stein am Rhein are among the few Swiss towns that were bombed during Second World War. The Americans officially attributed it to navigational errors and claimed they accidentally mistook them for German towns. But some believe the strike was intentional, as Switzerland, despite its neutrality, supplied weapons to Nazi Germany. In the bombing of Schaffhausen on April 1, 1944, the largest attack in the history of the Swiss Confederation, 40 people were killed and about 270 were wounded, some seriously. Following the bombing, United States President Franklin Roosevelt sent his personal apology to the mayor of the city. In addition, the United States transferred approximately $4 million to Schaffhausen as compensation. After these tragic events, the Swiss began en masse to paint large white crosses on a red background on the roofs of their houses. After seeing Schaffhausen, head to the Rhine Falls, which are located almost on the German border on the Rhine River. It takes about an hour on foot or 5 minutes by train to the station Schloss Laufen or Neuhausen am Rheinfall. Laufen Castle stands on a cliff above a waterfall, but it looks better from the outside. There is nothing interesting in the castle itself, except for a museum, expensive restaurant, expensive hostel and expensive souvenir store. From Neuhausen am Rheinfall station, take the elevator down and you'll be right by the waterfall. The Rheinfall is the largest waterfall in Europe with a height of 23 meters, which corresponds to the size of a 7-story building, and a width of 150 meters. The best time to visit the waterfall is from May to June. At this time of year it is especially full and beautiful. The impressively powerful cascading waterfall drops an average of 600 cubic meters of water per second. The full power of the falls is best experienced aboard a tourist boat that takes you to the rocky ledge in the center of the falls. But be prepared to get soaked to the skin. There are several observation decks around the falls, but the most impressive one is on the north bank. From this side you can see the famous view of the waterfall, which can be found on all postcards and souvenirs from this place. When I went up there, the weather has cleared up, which allowed me to fully enjoy the beauty of the majestic waterfall. After enjoying the majestic Rhine Falls, head to the stunningly beautiful, tiny medieval Stein am Rhein. This fairy-tale beautiful town, whose main street, Understadt, is less than 500 meters long, is visited by about 1 million tourists a year. The main attraction of the ancient town is this street with many beautiful houses decorated with frescoes with biblical stories or paintings that tell the history of the town and its inhabitants, and even illustrate novels from Giovanni Boccaccio's Decameron. The painted houses that line the street from Rathausplatz to the Untertorgate are literally works of art. All of these houses with centuries of history are sure to hold many secrets. Each house here has its own name. So, the house located by the city fountain is called at the Black Horn. It depicts quite real events, the return of a local baron from the Turkish Sultan in a carriage with all the honors. Across the house from it is the oldest hotel in town, the Hotel at the Sun. It depicts the meeting between the philosopher Diogenes and Alexander the Great. Diogenes, who was basking in the sun, at the meeting with the king on his generous offer to fulfill any request replied, "Move away, you are blocking my sun." Nearby are 2 more magnificent houses, at the Red Bull and at the Vineyard. The oldest frescoes in Stein am Rhein can be seen on the facade of the house at the White Eagle. They were created at the beginning of the 16th century and show scenes from Decameron. The house is located right next to the town hall, which can safely be called the brightest and most colorful house in the city. The paintings on the facade of the building illustrate the history of the Swiss Confederation. And this picturesque house is called the Foremost Crown. By the way, it's the tallest in town. And here once was a butcher's shop. The house is called the Butcher Shop at Pelicans. The facade depicts a pelican piercing his chest with his beak to give his chicks a drink. The owners of the shop probably wanted to say that they would do everything to make sure that the townspeople don't go hungry. Here's another one of the oldest butcher shops from the 15th century. Do not miss also the house at the Capricorn, through the arch of which you will get to the Church of St. George the Victorious. By the way, you'll see images of him everywhere, as he is considered the patron saint of the city. Adjoining the church is a monastery of the same name. This Benedictine abbey is one of the best preserved monasteries in Switzerland. The monks knew a lot about wine, as evidenced by this giant press and wine barrels. This monastery played a key role in the formation of Stein am Rhein, as the town was formed around it in the 13th century. In the city you can also see pictures from the past that have come to life. This is where the townspeople live, so you don't see any tourists here, and the townspeople themselves, too. After all, the city has only a little more than 3,000 people. I also advise you to turn to the side streets and walk along the beautiful promenade. And if you want to see the city from above, go up the mountain to Hohenklingen Castle. There is not much else to do there, as today the castle is a venue for various events. But it does offer a magnificent view of the city, the Rhine River, and Lake Constance or Bodensee. Beautiful views can be seen on the way up to the castle, where, as in many places in Switzerland, grapes are grown on the slopes. As I have already mentioned, in 1945 the American Air Forces, according to the official version, mistook Stein am Rhein for a German town and dropped bombs on it. As a result of the bombing, 9 people were killed and 15 injured. The lower gate of the city, the Untertor, was almost completely destroyed. But fortunately, the pristine appearance of the old town was completely restored. Stein am Rhein is considered to be an example of a model painstakingly complex scientific restoration of a town that suffered during World War II. After exploring this fairytale town, take the train to Zurich full of impressions. This is how your one-day trip to the north of the country to the German-speaking canton of Switzerland will end, which I am sure you will remember for a long time.